welcome back to our channel. We're the Garso Twins. I'm Britta.
And I'm Carly.
And we would love it if you would subscribe down below and hit the bell so you're notified when we upload. We have a fun video. So this year, 2021, was the year that I really got into reading. Britta has been reading consistently for like 5 years. Yeah, I've had a Goodreads account for like 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
Like so in the past, she's always like told me what her favorite books of the year were, and I've been happy to listen. But now I read 16 books, and I only started in September, so I've read quite a few. Britta read more, obviously. She's been reading the whole year.
Yeah.
And so we thought it'd be really fun to do our top 5 books of the year. If you guys love reading as well, hopefully you enjoy this video. It won't be too long. We just want to like give you top 5. Yeah, and I've read 30 books this year, but I actually realized I only gave 5 stars to like 3 books out of everything. So my top 5, like the first 3 are like 5 out of 5 perfection, and then the rest are 4, but I only had like 1 note, but I still loved them and would recommend them. And follow me on Goodreads, follow Carly too.
I have a Goodreads. I just never write the reviews, but I rate them.
I write reviews and rate them, and like you can follow along in my progress, and I love that app. I think it's so helpful, so good.
Me too.
I love
and
the newsletter. The newsletter's really good.
But my number 1 favorite thing of the year is the Los Angeles Public Library. I literally, like, I have a Kindle, and most of these books I just read by renting the book through the library, which is like through the Libby app, but also like you have to do like your local library. So mine is like the Los Angeles Public Library. And I think because it's a big library, even the digital copies, they have a lot of them.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Most of mine are physical books.
And I just couldn't get over the fact that something that was free brought me so much joy. Like
That's true.
I was thinking about that in the car the other day. I'm like, I can't believe that like all these books have brought me so much joy, and I read them for free. Like it blows my mind.
Like books, and I usually buy them like at a discount. They're still pretty affordable compared to other like activities or hobbies.
Yeah, that's true, but free.
Love the library, love my Kindle. Those are definitely like my 2 top things, but all these books are the only 5 that I gave 5 stars. Like I said, I've read 16, and I gave these 5 stars. I guess I'm less strict than Britta.
I'm pretty strict.
When it comes to her rating system, but I will say, if I didn't give it a 5, I gave most of them a 3. Like I'm kind of like, I love it or like it's okay. I gave most a 3.
Yeah,
for
me
sure.
too. I gave 1 or 2.
Okay, so we should probably start with our 5th and then work our way to the best, right? Okay, so one author that I love, I have 2 of her books in here.
And I don't have physical copies because, as I mentioned, I read them on my Kindle, but Britta does for
So this one is Christina Lauren, Love and Other Words, and I have 2 books from her because I love her writing style. I find it to be very like relatable. Like I feel like you're in the scene with the characters. Like everything is really realistic. I think that's why I like her writing.
Wait, what else did she write?
Well, she did the Soulmate Equation.
Oh, okay, that's my number 2.
I've probably read.
I love it.
I've probably read like
all of them.
At least 5 of her books.
Oh, and The Half Night Stand. That was so good too.
Yeah, like I feel like her writing is very like. It's not like a cheesy rom-com where like none of it's believable, none of it makes sense. They're never in real life situations. I feel like it's all very real and raw, and like that's what I love about it. I love how realistic she makes the characters. And I loved this book. This one is a little bit older, and I just discovered it this year. It's from 2018, so not like old, but it's not brand new. And I loved it because it was a flashback book. So it was about Macy and Elliot, and they meet in this like small town where Macy, her dad and her have a weekend home, and then Elliot lives in this town. So they basically only see each other on the weekends growing up, and you follow them like all the way through high school where they get interested in each other and like as more than friends, and then they go like 10 or so years without talking, and then you kind of find out why at the very end of the book, and obviously they end up together. That's not like a huge spoiler because like why would you follow these characters if they're not going to end up together? But I loved their love story. It felt like, again, just very real, very raw, like them kind of figuring out how to go from like best friends as like actual children to like wanting more, and then going 10 years without talking, but like realizing that they were meant to be and like could put everything behind them. And it's so good. It just like drew me in. Like I could not put this book down. Highly recommend it.
It's we should say like our style of books. Like our preferred.
Oh yeah, our preferred books are like rom-com type books.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't like anything too cheesy.
Me either.
Like I love Hallmark movies, but I don't want that in a book.
Yeah.
I want the book to be very like realistic, a story that's interesting. Like I love flashbacks.
Yeah,
personally.
I love like, well, we love like the rom-com type of literature. And then I love the good dialogue.
Yeah,
I like good dialogue.
But not dialogue, like I hate when they describe the scene in detail. Like I don't need to know that there's like flowers
that's what I
blooming
mean
on
by
the trees.
dialogue. I mean dialogue by like the characters
Exactly.
like talking.
Yeah.
And then I love a good setting. Like it has to usually be in like
Yes,
an
agreed.
interesting setting, like a city or something else, but that's interesting.
It's like you get points if it's like a cozy, like wintry town.
Yeah. And then like not cheesy and just like characters that are really complex.
Yes. Exactly.
But it's funny because both of our number one is not. I would not
a
consider that.
suspenseful
It's
book.
like it's a
And,
thriller.
you know, I've read a couple thrillers this year, and I didn't love them. So I've realized that I wholeheartedly love a good rom-com book.
Me too.
Thrillers
Besides this number
are
one.
like really hit and miss for me. What's your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is The Love Hypothesis. Do you have this one as a physical?
Nope, that one was Kindle for me.
Okay, so yeah, one of our subscribers sent us this book, so thank you so much because I was on the wait list at the library for this book for like 2 months. So you sent it to us, thank you so much.
And then I read it first, right? And then I was like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah. Well, you read it like a week before me.
Oh, that's right.
I just finished this actually 4 days ago, so it's very top of mind for me. But this one is really cute. It revolves around a girl named Olive, and they actually don't get too into detail about her, but you know that she like has lost her mom, and she like never had a dad, and she's very like scared of losing people.
Well, yeah, she
loves.
came from like the like she was essentially like in foster care, right?
Yeah, like she doesn't have family, and her like 2 best friends are essentially her family, but she's very petrified of like being in love because she thinks that she's going to lose this person. And she ends up like randomly, I don't think this is like giving it away, right?
I don't think so.
Like randomly kissing a professor at her school because she's a PhD student and he's a professor.
Which is like a little bit scandalous.
Yeah, it's like, it was actually quite scandalous when I was reading it. I was like, is this really not frowned upon?
Yeah. Well,
But-
it reminded me of when Ross dated, what's her name?
Elizabeth.
Yeah. And Friends.
Yeah, that's so true. But their age difference wasn't like crazy, but it ends up being like a really cute story. They actually deal with some like pretty heavy topics, wouldn't you say? Like there was one thing that I was actually really surprised was in this book, but it was
slut shaming was appalling.
yeah. So I was like really happy that they added like something that was kind of like, I don't know, just one of those things that gets everyone thinking instead of it just being like a typical rom-com. I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
But I just really loved it. I was really surprised, and it was actually quite steamy at times too.
It was. The only thing I didn't like about it and Olive's characters, because I feel like it's 2021, we need to have more like female empowered characters. I cannot stand when a female, like the main lead in the book, is so wishy-washy. Like there's no way he would ever like me. Why would he like me? That's not even it. That would never even cross my mind. I'm just like dreaming. Like what?
Yeah,
Why?
I thought that was really weird too, especially because how they described her and like her overall style and like who she was as a person.
Very
She seemed
strong.
to be really strong.
Yeah.
And she seemed to have confidence.
Yeah.
And then it was just like with this man, she didn't. So I didn't like that either.
Yeah.
But I still gave it 5 stars. I like highly recommend this book. I really loved it.
Yeah,
I thought
it was really good.
It was really well written.
Okay, book 4. I think book 4 is for me Soulmate Equation.
I don't think we match on any of them besides number 1.
Okay.
But but then I guess I can go into it. Soulmate Equation is my number 2. So we can just talk about it together.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay, so my number 4 is Carli's number 2, which was
I loved it.
Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren, the same author as Love in Other Words. Again, love her writing style. This one took me by surprise. I didn't think I would love it as much as I did.
I was shocked.
It was so good. It's basically about, I don't remember the character's names because I read it quite a while ago.
No,
And I don't
maybe
have
I'm
that's the
making
only
that
one I don't have the physical book of.
I know, I read it a while ago too.
But they basically live in San Diego, and the female, what is her name? I cannot remember.
I can't remember.
Is a single mom, and she is a freelancer, like data analysis. And then the main guy, he works for a tech company that is developing
well, he started it. He was one of the founders.
yeah, he's founded a tech company that basically pairs people up by their DNA, and his whole thing is like we're genetically dispositioned to
Like,
find
fall in
like
love
our
with people.
soulmate
Yeah.
based on these certain traits that can be traced in DNA testing. And so interesting. I don't know, like that is in the
actually
works.
exists. I know, because this is a really like nuanced concept. Like I'm like, did the author really just think of this? Like that's smart.
Exactly.
I don't know. Yeah.
So smart. And if that's something that's like in the works, let's have them release that because that would save people a lot of time, I imagine. And I don't want to like give too much away. It's so hard because I don't want to like spoil it.
This one was a roller coaster. There was a lot.
Yeah, like essentially, basically, the girl and her friend take this test like for fun, just like jokingly, and then she gets matched with the founder. Like they get a really high rating. So then the other members of like the board are like, we want you to date so that we can prove if this is like an actual case study. Because like how cool is that marketing story? Like our founder was matched and like met his soulmate.
Or like it'll look really bad if in reverse if they don't end up liking each other, and then the founder, like all of that he's worked for is kind of like thrown to the side because people would find this out. So they basically like tell them to date and see like what happens.
Really good story. We don't want to give too much away,
but I loved it.
It was really, really, really good. So that was my number 4. I just had some other books I liked more, but all of these I loved.
Yeah, me too. My number 4 was People We Meet on Vacation. Did you read this?
No.
It's so good. I also forgot their names because I read this a while ago as well. But this book is so wrongly named. Based on what this is called, I was like, oh, is it gonna be like little snippets of stories of like people meeting on vacation?
Well, isn't it the sequel to Beach Read?
Well, I think it's the same author, but I don't know if they're like
not
entirely connected. I'm not really sure. I'm reading Beach Read next. But anyways, it is a love story, and it's about 2 best friends. Actually, kind of sounds like Christina Lauren, Love in Other Words. But it's about 2 best friends that have been like platonic best friends from like their, I don't know, they describe it maybe like early 20s. Basically like a decade, and they have gone on vacation together, just the 2 of them, every year for like, I think it was like 7 years or something. And obviously you see where this is going. But they even like, again, what I love about this one is they have like, there's real life things that happen in this book that really like make these characters seem more real and realistic. Like at one point they both have other significant others, but they didn't want to miss their vacation, so like they bring them together, and that trip is like pretty pivotal. There's other things that happen on that trip. Then there's just a lot of back and forth with this. They don't get together right away. It obviously is like there's years and years, and I just loved that you could like go on, it was also a flashback, so they would be like in present time, and then she would like flash back to the vacation they took like 3 years ago, and then you would like get the story in that sense. And so I loved like the timing of this. I loved how they use flashback quite often. I love that, like I said, setting is really big for me in books, and I liked that there was like so many different settings because they went on so many vacations. So I loved it. I loved their love story. I thought it ended really appropriately and really cute. Kind of similar to, a lot of these. Like how it's kind of like the hating, we're going to get to the hating game, but like, oh, like I never hated you. Like I always loved you sort of thing. So really loved that one. It was really cute, and I was surprised by that as well.
Okay, my number 3 is Carrie Winfrey, Not Like the Movies. Again, I love this author. I just ordered another book from her that hasn't come in yet, but I'm excited to read it. She also wrote Waiting for Tom Hanks, which I read last year. Sorry, there's dust on these because I put them on the bookshelf and then it gets dusty. I just got an air purifier as a side note to that dust comment. But this is really good. So the characters of Chloe and Nick were in the first book, Waiting for Tom Hanks, but they were like the best friends, and then they get like their own book, which I also love that. So Chloe works at Nick's cafe, and there's always this theme where like they hate each other, but they don't. And I don't know if that ever happens in real life. I don't know anyone that is a current couple that at one point in their life like hated each other.
Well, wasn't that Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling? They had like openly said they did not like working together on The Notebook, did not get along, and then they dated for like 3 years after.
Maybe. Okay, so maybe it happens to people that I just don't know. But anyway, they like Nick is kind of like a curmudgeon, but he's like in his 30s, but very like cranky all the time. And Chloe is very like upbeat, optimistic, even though like she has a lot of things she's dealing with in her life. She's just very like an eternal optimist, and Nick is kind of the opposite. But they do get along, and Chloe has some like really good ideas for the cafe. And this one is pretty like slow and steady too. Like I felt like they kind of like took the relationship to the next level, but it was kind of like drawn out, like will they, won't they actually end up together. and obviously they do, but I just loved it. Again, the setting really gets me with all these books. I think this is in Ohio, but the Waiting for Tom Hanks was the one I read last year where like they film a movie in this like small little Midwestern town. And then this one, like the whole thing takes place in like a cafe. Like it's just very quaint, and I love the setting. The setting really got me. I really love both Nick and Chloe. I like how different they were. That's another thing I look for in books. I like when the characters are kind of like opposites attract.
Yeah, that's for all of mine. They are different.
Yeah. Oh, and that's, okay, now I'm reading the back of this, I totally forgot the main thing is the Waiting for Tom Hanks character, so the main couple in that, he's an actor and she's a writer, and then she wrote a book based on Chloe and Nick, and that got turned into a movie that her fiance is like acting in, so the whole thing is like, Chloe and Nick kind of become in the public eye because they're like this real life subjects of this huge premiere that's happening. So that kind of like pushes them together in a way that they like wouldn't normally do. So I also love that. It was just a really, really cute read. I love this author.
Okay, my number 3 is The Hating Game, and I think I love this so much because I read the book the same time we saw the movie that just came out, and I loved the movie so much. And I think that's so great when like two media, like a movie and a book, can like make each other even better together.
Yeah, that's true.
This was a slow start for me, I will say. I tried to read this last year and I could not get into it. I got like 20% through and I was like, Britta, I don't really like this author's writing style. Like I can't get into this. I can't like for something about it to me was really like staccato and I couldn't like flow through it. But then I started reading it again. I got halfway through, then watched the movie, and then finished it. And the second half of this book is way better than the first half, in my opinion. That's my only complaint, but I still gave it 5 stars because I loved it so much.
I love that book.
It's basically, there's like co-CEOs of a publishing house, which if you know us, you know anything to do with a publishing house, like Younger is like one of our favorite shows of all time. Anything that revolves around publishing, which technically Verity does too, is like, we just love it. So they own a publishing house and they're opposites, complete opposites, and they each have an executive assistant, and this love story takes place between those 2 assistants. They basically like quote unquote hate each other for like a year or so, or even longer, and then they end up getting together, obviously. But this is also kind of a bumpy road. This can have its cheesy moments, but I felt like it was just really like genuine. Genuine feelings that you could feel through the pages, so I loved it.
Okay, my number 2 book is The Happy Ever After Playlist by Abby Jimenez. Again, I love this author, and she's actually like...
I read a book by her this year too, and
yes,
I loved it.
She is a chef. She's from the Food Network. I don't know exactly what she was on, but it's insane to me that she is such a good author and also like a world-renowned
Yeah, that's crazy.
chef. That's crazy. Insane. The talent this lady has is unmatched, seemingly. This was another sequel that I think I prefer. Well, I don't prefer them to the first book. I love them both. But sometimes it's so hit or miss with a sequel. This one is kind of the same thing. It's like not like the movies where the main character of this book, Sloane, is the best friend in the first book, which I cannot think of the name off the top of my head of that first book. But if you read my Goodreads, you'll know. So this one, basically, in the first book, Sloane's fiance, well, no, this is going to give it away if you ever want to read that book, but he dies. I'm not going to say how. But he dies, and she's like left heartbroken and alone, and she is like really scared to move on, really scared to like let go of what she thought her life was going to be. So you really feel for her like from the very beginning, because if you've read the book before this, you kind of know the whole story, and it kind of leaves off where that one left off, but like a few months or maybe even a year later. It might be a full year. And she all of a sudden like finds this dog, and the dog belongs to this man that is out of town, and basically she's like, well, I'll keep your dog like until you get back. She ends up like falling in love with this dog. The man ends up being like this famous musician, and they basically like hit it off. Well, kind of. Like, she's like very apprehensive about this whole thing, because she's like, well, why was your dog just like running around in the street? She thinks of him as like a typical like, you know, like rock star that like has a lot of women. And so the whole book is kind of like him trying to like win her over, which I also liked because she is like a really strong female character. I know that's what I was talking about in the other one. Like,
I don't like when they're so wishy-washy, and I feel like Sloane is like really honest with herself through the whole thing. Like she like lets herself feel things, but is also like really apprehensive to like move on from what she thought her life was going to be, like I said, and she like knows what she wants and what she deserves. So I really love the character of Sloane, but I also love the character of Jason. I also love that there was a dog involved. It was really, really cute. The ending is so, so cute. I'm not gonna like give it away, but obviously they end up together. But lots of ups and downs in this one too. Like she basically goes on tour with him. She can't handle it. Like she doesn't like living on a tour bus. They like separate for a while. I don't want to give too much away, but lots of ups and downs. Okay, then my number 2 was the Soulmate Equation, and we have the same number 1. So
okay, you can start then.
You have the books, you can show it. But Verity is our number 1, and this is so different than all the other books.
It feels so nice.
Yeah, I love the cover too. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it really draws you in. This is by Colleen Hoover, and it's probably the most famous book, honestly.
I know.
I started reading it because Caitlin B like constantly would rave about it, and this was what got me back into reading, so I'm always going to be grateful because I read this in September, and then I haven't stopped reading since because I was like, if a book can be that good, like I need to read more. And the guy in this book is Jeremy. Then what's the girl's name?
Lowen. I love that name.
Lowen, yeah. I don't even know how to talk about this without giving too much away because I think what we can say is Verity is the name of the author.
Yeah.
She's an author. She gets injured. We don't need to say how.
Yeah.
But she gets injured and she needs someone to finish her book. And so Jeremy, the husband, hires Lowen, who's
like
also
Jeremy
an author.
is married to Verity,
Yes.
the famous author.
Yes. Jeremy hires Lowen to finish her book. So Lowen comes to their house, looks through like all of Verity's notes to try to like get in her head and finish this book.
Yes, and that's really where we can leave it because I feel like we can't give too much away, and I think the reason I loved it so much was because it was such a thriller, but also a love story, and like if there was like twists and turns. Like you would turn the pages and it was like, oh my god, what is happening? Like I had to stay up to finish it.
I could never in my life read a book like this every day of the week. Like no way. It's like you read this book and then you need 3,000 of these books to like cleanse your palate.
That's the only thriller I've read all year, but when I was thinking of this list, it was an easy number 1. Like it is so good. I don't even know how the author could create such a piece. Like it's kind of dark, and
it's really dark.
Yeah, it's very dark.
But it's incredible. I love it. Love it. So good. 10 out of 10 recommend. I'm also like I love this feeling of this book. This is the only like brand new book I think that I bought this like out of all the ones. Yeah. And there's just like it still has that new book smell.
Yeah.
I only read it the one time, but I'll have to read it again.
Yeah. And I actually read it because when we got our Kindles, it was free on Kindle Unlimited, so that's why I read it because like Caitlin had talked about it, and I'm like, oh, I just need something to start using my Kindle, and so yeah, they had it on. I think it's still on there. So if you have Kindle Unlimited and you have a Kindle, it's free if you don't want to buy the book.
Did you do your number 2 book?
Soulmate Equation.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we had some overlap. Okay, we hope you like this video. Please let us know your top 5 from the year because we obviously are always searching. Or definitely your number 1. Like if there's a book that stands out to you as your favorite that we haven't read, or even if we have read, leave it down below.
Yes.